This is the paper that I'm using today. So it's a Canson Heritage. It's cold pressed. It's 100% cotton, and I do prefer to work on 100% cotton, but sometimes I do work on wood pulp paper. It's got 20 sheets in it, and this one is a 31 by 41 centimeter block, so it's a 12 by 16 inch block. I'll show you how to draw a simple snowflake, and of course snowflakes come in all different patterns and they all look different because apparently no snowflake is the same. But I'm going to show you how to just draw a very simple snowflake. All you need to do is just draw a line down like this, and then you'll crisscross it, so just draw a line across as well. Try and get them the same length if you can. So if you want to use a ruler, I'm just showing you that this is what you can do to make the perfect length snowflake. And then all you need to do then is just draw these little bits coming off like this. So you can paint these in, but I'm just going to show you how you can draw them. They are so simple to do, and you don't have to be perfect with these, as long as you've just got them all pointing upwards. Try and space them out evenly if you can. Just keep drawing these V shapes all the way around until you've filled out the whole snowflake, and then you can go over these then with your watercolours. I've got my range of blues now, so I've just got some cobalt turquoise. Take some of the cobalt turquoise. I've got a range of different blues here, so this is cobalt turquoise. And what I'm going to do is just paint it down the middle, and then I'm just going to paint these little spindly things. And then I'm just going to take a different colour, so this is manganese blue, and I'm going to drop that in. And then I'll take a darker blue, which is phthalo blue, and I'll drop that in just to a few little areas here and there. See? So we just got a range of different colours. What I'm also going to do is take this little silver paint here. So this is iridescent paint, and it's a metallic paint that I got from someone from Etsy. And I'm going to drop that in just in a few areas so you get a bit of sparkle. So I'm not painting it all over. You don't have to follow this complete rule all over your snowflake. If you wanted to pick up a different colour to start with, you could certainly do that, so you don't have to pick up the same range of colours. And what I mean by that is, because I'm picking up the cobalt turquoise to start with, I might decide on my next go that I'm going to pick up the manganese blue to start with. I've got the manganese blue now, and I'm just going to drop that in as well. And then I'm going to take the iridescent blue, and I'm going to pop that in. I might take the phthalo as well, pop that in. So phthalo blue. Just here and there, I'm not going too wild with the darker colours. Might drop in a bit at the bottom. So as long as you start light to dark, then you're going to be winning. I wouldn't start with a dark colour like an indigo or a phthalo blue, because then you're going to struggle to paint on top of that. This is the cobalt turquoise. Now I'm going to take a little bit of phthalo green. This is Windsor blue, actually, this one. So Windsor blue, and I'll drop in a bit more concentrated Windsor blue. Now I've got some Windsor blue, and I'm going to start off with the Windsor blue. I might paint it on a bit thicker. So Windsor blue, and paint that all the way down. Nice and wet paint so I can paint on top. Might take a bit of lavender and pop that in as well. Look at that, gorgeous. I'm just playing around. I'm not even thinking this through, to be honest. I'm just picking up the colours, dropping them into one another, and just letting it do its thing. So we've got that lovely icy look. This is the phthalo blue now. So I've just got it watered down so it's nice and light to start with. Painting that all over, and then I'll take a bit of lavender and I'll pop that in. Take a bit of cobalt turquoise, pop that in as well. A bit of the iridescent blue. And then I'll take the phthalo turquoise and I'll pop that into the bottom so it's darkest. I'm really going to have to remember if this is phthalo green or Windsor blue, because I honestly can't remember. This is Windsor blue, isn't it? Yeah, this is Windsor blue. I just rinsed my brush off there so we got a lighter tone. And then I'll go in and I'll drop some colours on top. So I just got some iridescent blue here. Got a bit of the phthalo blue, so I'll drop that into the bottom. That's really thick, I picked it up really thick by accident. Then I'll also take some of my silver again. And I'm going to pop that in, just so we got a beautiful sparkle. I might pop that in there as well. I've got the cobalt turquoise now. I'm going to drop that in, and then I'll pick up the iridescent blue. I'll take that into these little areas. So I'm just alternating my colours. This is phthalo blue. So it just adds lots of interest that way, just by picking up the different colours. Pick up some of the Windsor blue, drop that into the bottom. And then I think I'll start off with the Windsor blue. Nice and diluted, nice and watery. And then the electric blue. This is a beautiful colour, by the way. And then some of the manganese blue, because I've left him out and I haven't used him much, but he's a beautiful bright blue. Look at that, it's gorgeous, isn't it? And then I think I'll use the lavender and drop that in. Lavender is such a gorgeous colour. If you haven't tried this, you have to. And then I'll add the phthalo blue as well, just in a few areas. So we got that difference between light and dark, because it does make it look really interesting. I'll pick up that iridescent silver again. It's gorgeous. And I'll just add that in, wet into wet. You could also paint this on dry paper as well, so allow your snowflake to dry and then add a little bit here and there. And that is finished now, so look how quick and easy that is to do. We're going to do a range of snowflakes now, so I'll show you different ways how to paint a snowflake. I'll show you another way how you can draw a snowflake. I'm going to start off with a star in the middle, and I don't know if you ever did this in high school. The easiest way to draw a star in my eyes is to actually start off with a triangle. So I'm going to start off with a 6 centimetre triangle. You can see I did try and draw a triangle straight, but it didn't work. One side was longer than the other. So there we go, one triangle one way. And then you can turn your paper around, turn it around so it's upside down, and then draw another triangle facing upwards. So I'm going to do it again. I'm going to draw another triangle. I'm going to just try and work out the middle of this triangle here. I'm going to draw another triangle, 6 centimetres, but I want those points to be roughly about the same size. So I'm going to draw it across, 6, oh that's 5, 6, and then join it up. What you want to do now is just erase these lines in the middle. Now that you've got your basic shape down, you can always fix up these triangle areas so that they're roughly about the same size. So I'm just going to make this one a little bit longer, and then maybe I'll make that one a bit longer as well, just so that they're all about the same size. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to use my eraser and just erase these middle lines. What I would definitely suggest is that you have a play around on some drawing paper or some printer paper first, and then you can scribble over the back of your star, and then turn the paper over, and then take a sharp pencil and trace over your outline of your star, and that will transfer it onto your watercolour paper. And to be honest, I don't normally draw straight onto watercolour paper because I don't like using my eraser too much on the watercolour paper. Now that you've got your star in the middle, you can just simply add these little things on the end. I don't really know what to call them. Like, they remind me of the top of party hats. So they're just like little points, really. 3 little points. So one coming straight down and then 2 either side. One coming straight down and then like a V. And then you can also add a bit in the middle. So if you wanted to add a line coming down and then 3 little bits coming off again. So one in the middle and then a V, and then across. If you wanted to do one across there. And I'll show you now how you can paint this gorgeous little snowflake. I got my range of blues again, so these are the blues that I showed you earlier. I've also got some metallic paints again, so I've got my lavender, my peacock, my candy floss, my fairy and my moonlight, and these are the only colours that I've got in the Kaleido range. I do want more of those though, because I highly recommend those. And then I'm also going to be using a little bit of quinacridone rose, so if you want to add a bit of pink, that's completely up to you. Obviously you don't have to, but I just love pink. Pink goes in nearly every painting that I've got. I'm going to start off with some of my blue. So this is electric blue, and I'm just going to paint it quite thickly down the middle like this. And then I'm also going to just paint it up these little spindly bits as well, so it's quite thick. I'm not using thin lines. You can use thinner lines if you prefer. And then I'm going to take a little bit of my phthalo blue and I'm going to drop that in just a few little areas. And then I'm going to take a bit of my fairy, which was my metallic pink, and I'm going to drop that in. I'm just playing around with this. As you can see, it doesn't look very pink because this is a funny colour, to be honest. It works differently on white paper to how it does on black paper. I'm going to use my cobalt turquoise, so allowing those two colours to touch in the middle. I'm going to add my spindly bit at the end. You can see I'm being quite messy with this. I've got a bit of manganese blue and I'm going to drop that in. And I've got my peacock blue, which is my Kaleido colours, and I'm going to drop that in as well. So you can see it looks a bit green, doesn't it? I love the look of adding metallics over the top. Some manganese blue now. I'm going to pop that through the middle. So I want those, the reason why I'm painting these middle bits first is because I want those colours to touch in the middle while they're still wet, so that they sort of blend into one. A bit of my phthalo blue. I add it in the middle. I might add a nice dark colour in the middle actually, that's the phthalo blue. Just allow it to blend out. I've got some quinacridone rose now and I'm going to drop that in too. Can you see how the pink just looks so beautiful, doesn't it, on a snowflake? Just a little bit. Windsor blue. I don't know if this is Windsor blue or phthalo green. Can't remember. Got my Windsor blue. I'll add that there. Can you see how that's blending into that colour now? And I just love that look where the colours blend into one another. If you wanted to, you could rinse your brush off and you could blend those edges out to sort of soften them, and it's just going to make the snowflake look like it's sort of blending into the background. It's going to give this lovely snowy, icy look. I think I'm going to use a little bit of my metallic purple on its own. I've no idea how this is going to pan out. I'm just playing, so just play around with the colours that you've got. That's why I love painting these snowflakes. Just gives me a chance to play around. Might actually blend that out as well, just so that the two opposite ends are a bit blended. So just a bit of clean water on the edge and touching that paint while it's still wet. I'm going to add a little bit of my Windsor blue. I love this colour. It's gorgeous. Such a very intense blue. It's pretty. Then a little bit of manganese blue now. Just paint that on. Manganese blue I find is a very washy blue. Bit of phthalo blue going in because it's a stronger colour. And then while that's wet, I'm going to pop in a little bit of my moonlight, which is the Kaleido colour. I'm going to pop down the moonlight on its own. Like, you don't have to think this through beforehand, you can just pick up the colours as you go. I'm popping in a little bit of my Windsor blue, and I'll use the Windsor blue on its own just while it's on my brush. And I've actually got a little bit of the moonlight in my brush as well, so those two colours now have sort of mixed together and they're making a lovely metallic blue, so it's a little bit glittery now, this. I'm going to rinse my brush off. I'm going to just use a damp brush to blend out the edge. So a nice clean brush now, blending out the edge. And what I'm going to actually do is add a bit of that moonlight into that washy area. And can you see how I'm just playing, I'm just picking things up as I go. So we go for the peacock on its own, because I don't think I've used the peacock on its own yet. So this is a funny colour, this one. It doesn't look blue when you pop it down on white paper. I don't know why. I think it reacts differently on black paper. I'm rinsing off my brush, and can you see how here we've got a harsh edge? What I'm going to do is just blend that out with some clean damp water. And then I might actually add a bit of my turquoise. Popping in a bit of turquoise there. That's nice. I like that. And then shall we rinse off my brush a little bit? But I've got a bit of turquoise on my brush now, and I'm actually going to tap it. Look at that. That's beautiful, isn't it? Just tap it on the one side. And that's actually going to hit some of the wet area, and it's going to blend out as well. I'm going to paint a snowflake using one of my favourite colours now, which is the Daniel Smith Lavender. This is a beautiful soft lilac colour, and I highly recommend it. If you haven't tried it before, try not to throw your cap all over the place. Start off by drawing a circle. I'm just going to use the end of my brush show pot, only because I'm lazy and it's right in front of me. You can definitely use a compass or any circular object that you've got. And I'm just going to draw a circle. So now I've got a nice watery mix of lavender. What I'm going to do is use my larger brush now. So I've got a size 12 Da Vinci Casaneo. I love this brush. It's a lovely quality one, but it's a big pointed round brush. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of start from the bottom. So I'm going to just move my hand towards me just because I find it a bit easier like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go from the centre of the circle on the outside. And I'm just going to paint a line down like this with a little point on the end. And then I'm just going to put these little things coming off. I hope I'm explaining this properly. I'm basically just adding like these little points coming off. And then I'm going to start picking up some of my other blues. So I've got some cobalt turquoise. I'm going to pop that in just while it's still wet. I might pick up a little bit of phthalo blue as well. If you want to add it a bit darker at the bottom. I'm going to take some of these colours. These are the Gansai Tambi Starry Night colours. I got these from Amazon, so I will link them for you. I'm going to pick up this light gold because I love it, and I'm just going to pop that in. So this is a metallic paint. And then I might actually add a little bit of the white gold as well. This is just a white metallic paint. I wouldn't say it's gold. And then just let that dry now. So I got the lavender again, and then I'm going to do the same with this. So if you want to turn your paper around, you can, but I'm struggling for room at the moment, so that's the reason why I'm not going to turn my paper around. But we're going to draw another thickish line coming down like that, and then pressing down the belly of the brush, I'm going to add these thickish marks. They're a little bit like when you would paint leaves, so you're just lifting off at the end. And it just creates this lovely sort of snowflakey look. Sorry about the non-technical terms that I'm using. Not good with my words sometimes. Adding a bit of phthalo, and I might take a bit of manganese blue now. Pop that in. That's actually mixed in with my cobalt turquoise a little bit. I got some Windsor blue, and I'm going to just add that to the bottom because I want the bottom to be the darkest area. I'm also going to add that to there, just allow it to bleed up a little bit. I'm going to leave that metallic paint on there now and just have a little play around with this. So I've just picked up the lavender again. I love experimenting. I never really stick to one thing. I sort of swap and change all the time because I'm not a good planner either. So I sort of plan these videos and then I think, oh, that's a good idea. And I'll just sort of do as I go. So I'm just pressing down and then pulling up, pressing down, pulling up, pressing down, pulling up, pressing down, pulling up. If you haven't invested in a good round brush yet, I highly recommend it. Honestly, it will change your painting experience massively. Just picking up a bit of Windsor blue. And if you want to have a look in my description box, I always pop links to my favourite art supplies. So I never recommend anything that I think is rubbish. I always recommend things that I use, I love, and I love to recommend products because it's so hard, isn't it? There's so many things out on the market these days. You never really know what's good, and you don't want to sort of spend your money on something and then get it and think, oh, I've wasted my money on that. I've bought so many art supplies that I've seen recommended from YouTubers and stuff, and I've loved it, so I always go from recommendations. I'm just popping in some lavender now, and then I'll pick up my light gold, so there's not much water in my brush. I'm going to drop that in a few areas, not all over. Start with my lavender again. I'm just going to start from about here, and I'm going to paint a line up with a little point on the end. I'm going to press down and lift up, press down, lift up, press down. You can see I'm not adding all my brush to the paper, it's mainly just the tip, so I'm just pressing down a little bit and then lifting off. It's got that lovely little point on the end, a little bit like the end of a leaf. And you don't have to be perfect with this because some of these points are not completely perfect. It is a little bit messy. I'm going to pick up some Windsor Blue and I'm going to drop that in while it's still wet. Just have a play around with your mixing and your washes, your wet into wet washes. Just randomly pick up colours and drop them in. Honestly, it's so much fun. I've got some cobalt turquoise now. I'm going to pop that in. And actually I'm going to pick up some quite concentrated lavender and drop that in as well, because I love this colour. I want some of that colour to really be picked up. Add in some phthalo blue at the bottom. This is mixed in a little bit with a different colour. If you didn't want this end bit here to be so sharp, you could always just take your damp brush and blend out the edge while it's still wet. And that's just going to soften that edge. I should have done that actually. I wish I had. I'm going to just blend that edge out. But don't worry if some of this water runs up into the snowflake, because it'll cause a back run and that just makes the snowflake look very snowflakey. I'm actually going to add a blob of water there just to show you. You could also add a little bit of clean water. So if you just tap the back of your brush and tap that in while the paint is starting to dry, that's going to cause little textures on your snowflake. This is such a lovely relaxing exercise, and these make beautiful watercolour cards. I haven't made a watercolour card in years. So I made watercolour cards when I first started painting in watercolour, and I haven't for the last 2 years. I don't know why. They are so much fun to do, but this year I'm going to make some for my family and friends because I think they'll really appreciate it. So just pressing down with the belly of my brush. There we go. And then I'm going to take my blue. So this is, I can't remember what blue this is. It's just my blue. They've all mixed in my palette, they have. I don't know what colour is which now. I'm just applying that colour wet into wet. Phthalo blue. Dropping that in. It's very strong. This is a beautiful colour. Just allow that to mix up. I might actually add a little bit to the end here. Bit there, just so it's a bit stronger on the end and it stands out. Make that into a point. You could always rinse your brush off. I rinse my brush off and use some clean water and blend one of the edges out. Whoops, I got a bit of dirtiness on my brush for some reason. Just blend that edge out so you got that lovely little blend on the edge, so it just makes it look a bit more interesting. And then I'm going to take my white and drop that in, so we got a lovely little bit of shimmer going on. Bit of that light gold, just because it's a bit colour. Pop that in. I hope you can see this metallic colour. It's beautiful. In real life, it's really beautiful. You can see here, these two snowflakes have blended into one, and I don't mind that happening because I just love the look of that. And then I'll take my phthalo blue, pop it into the bottom, just going with the theme of keeping it darker on the bottom because I think it looks a bit better. I'm going to blend that out. I've got a bit of electric blue now. I love this colour, it's got a bit of shimmer in it. This is a Daniel Smith colour, I think I've mentioned that anyway already. I actually add a tiny bit of quinacridone pink, look at that, that's beautiful, isn't it? If you want this pink to be somewhere else as well, just add it in a different area so it doesn't look a bit odd. And then I'll add some clean water as well to cause some purposeful back runs. Gold, and I'm going to pop that in. Just popping it in, wet into wet. I don't know what's going on with my brush, it's a bit dry at the moment. And then I've got the white as well. Look at that? It's gorgeous, isn't it? You could take a slightly darker colour, so if you wanted to add a bit of phthalo blue, just sort of darken up that middle bit. Just make it stand out a bit more. I might paint that all the way around like that, and then rinse off your brush and then just blend out the edge. You could also add too much water so it creates a bit of a back run, and then you'll get that lovely texture going on. I'm going to allow this to dry completely and then I'll show you the finished result.
A few moments later.
Now that this is dried, I want to show you how it's turned out. I'm really happy with some of the texture that's going on in this. You can see the texture here, that's from the water droplets that I splattered in. And then you've got a bit of a bleed here. So this was the clean water where I blended out the edge. Can you see how here, if you get these harsh edges and you don't want those hard edges, all you need to do is just rinse your brush off. And then you can take a nice soft but clean brush and sort of just gently rub over the edge of that. And that'll help to soften the edge and you won't get so much of a harsh edge. I also love how I created this bloom here. And then here is where I popped the salt in, so you've got some beautiful texture going on. I love that. I think this one worked out better because the paint had dried a little bit more. This one was still quite wet when I put the salt in, so it hasn't worked as well. It's sort of all clumped together, but you still got some lovely texture going on. So I would allow your paint to dry a little bit, allow the sheen to disappear off your paper, and then add the salt. It's just the perfect time for it. I would say though that salt works differently on different papers. So some of the papers that I use, it literally doesn't work at all. But then some of my better quality, like this one is really good quality, and the 100% and the 100% cotton paper that I've got just works beautifully with the salt. And I want to mention that if you buy anything through my link, it gives me a small commission. It doesn't cost you any extra. You're helping me out by buying through my link, and I really appreciate that because it all goes to the running of this channel. It helps me to buy more art supplies so I can make these tutorials for you, because art supplies are so expensive, especially paper. So yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. If you buy anything through my link, put a little comment, because I just want to thank you personally, because honestly it means the world to me.